The farm continues. Chibi's made a video explaining the situation. His entire career ruined because of him being a director for One Punch Man. I don't know about his ruined his entire career. That's just like sensationalism titles on YouTube, but let's listen to Chibi about it.
One Punch Man Season 3 director Shinpei Nagai deactivates X account after online harassment. It didn't even need 24 hours since I uploaded last night's video to give confirmation that I was right. That I was right that the director was legitimately thrown under the bus by the entire production committee, the higher-ups that have decided the production of Season 3. What they have done to this...
It's funny when Chibi says, looks like I was right, when it's like, brother, water is wet. I think everyone is aware that the production committee, you know, basically sacrificed Shinpei Nagai as well as the team working on JC stuff because they weren't able to, you know, basically figure out a realistic solution to, should we, you know, wait and try to get different production lines of different talent working on different projects? Should we wait on them, or should we just go with the cheap alternative solution and hope that One Punch Man's brand name kind of carries and the people will just kind of eat it up and they'll forget about it? It's terrible. It's just corporate greed at the end of the day.
Director is just so infuriating and sad, man. Now, obviously, yes, there was people harassing the staff, harassing the director, thanks to the animation and art quality of Season 3. I will get into that in a moment, but I want to talk about, in general, his final statement before he deactivated, but also just how this happened to begin with. In yesterday's video, in the final stretches of it, I talked about how the director was just really dealt a bad hand. That, honestly, we like to say that One Punch Man Season 3 was thrown under the bus, but I legit believe that the director was thrown under the bus a lot harder. Because he even stated with his own comments that he was shocked that he got the project.
I'm so glad that Chibi brought this up. This is from summer, or a couple months ago, where someone asked, it's crazy, there's a Twitter account named One Punch Man Season 3 leaks or something, and they were already talking to this guy, and he was kind of making excuses, valid excuses about why would they choose me? I don't even specialize in action. You're gonna pick me for rom-com, you know, I do, you know, rom-com, I do comedy. Like, what are you doing?
I was shocked that he was given the task when he was known for making, like, romantic comedy series. And so when you have the director shocked or embarrassed that he got such a high-profile project, it was pretty worrisome. But also, he was even wondering, like, what's going on here? And just everything about the situation before everything went down last night, yesterday, and just since Season 3 aired, it's just been a series of bad decisions from everyone on top that gave the staff and this director such a bad hand. This was literally the only outcome that would probably happen. And
I don't think this is the only outcome that could have happened. I think there's plenty of different outcomes where if people were educated enough and knew about this topic and there weren't other people, you know, putting oil onto the fire, I don't think him, you know, abandoning Twitter like this would have happened. I think One Punch Man would have been still fucked regardless. Like the quality of the product wouldn't have changed, but regarding the situation of this guy's online presence, I think that there's definitely a timeline where this didn't happen.
They literally allowed this director and the staff to pretty much walk into a burning house and didn't even give them any protection, any flame-resistant suits or anything like that. They just allowed them to walk in and just get grilled at the stake. It is so disgusting what the production committee and everyone on top, like Bandai as well and all that, that is a so...
Bandai Namco, I think, is one of the main, you know... I mean, let's just look at this, right? Because people still don't really completely understand how the corporate structure works. This is a very simple website that you can use to kind of see that. But the producer staff, right? It's not just Bandai Namco. You have TV Tokyo, you have 80K Marketing Solutions, JR Higashi, Shueisha, blah, blah, blah. And all these different corporate entities pitching their money, representing different parts of the production committee. I think Bandai Namco is obviously the biggest name. Well, Shueisha is huge too, but I think a lot of people use Bandai Namco as the face of the production committee per se, right? And the reason why there's so many in there is because making anime is expensive, and the likelihood of a company going bankrupt if they did not have multiple different corporate entities pitching in, you know, is unlikely. So in order to avoid those situations, we have found this compromise. But again, like anything, there's going to be problems. And now the problem is that these fuckers get the control over everything and force down a hand to JC staff that they just are fucked with. Now, there is absolutely a scenario where executives at JC staff decided to take it on by being greedy, right? Because it's hard for me to believe that Bandai Namco just says, you have to take this or you're dead. But in Japanese corporate culture, if you know anything about that, very rarely, you know, do you have an option. When you're dealt a hand, you have to just kind of obey and be a good boy or you get blacklisted, right? This is how corporate structures work, and it's believable that the people who took upon this project from Bandai, from JC Staff, did it not out of sheer corporate greed, but more of, fuck, you chose us again. It feels like it's one of those animes where there's like a lotto. There's a small rural village and there's a lotto. And they picked a lotto to see who gets sacrificed into the mountain spirit. We have to drop an innocent child or a virgin woman into a volcano pit. That's just the rules here. And Bandai Namco chose JC Staff and this director. That's one of my interpretations. I could be wrong.
Associated with this project, what they did to this man, because now his career is forever tarnished. His career as a director or an animator or whatever will have this permanent stain on it going forward.
Is that true for this anime? Who was the director for One Punch Man Season 2? This shit got shit on so hard too. Bald? I think he's still doing what he's doing. I don't know. When was the last time this was made? April 3rd, 2025. I don't know. And then you could kind of argue, is the Season 2 situation worse than Season 3? I don't think Season 3 has even shown all the cars just yet. It's just that the cars that they've shown is very not priority work. Therefore, people are shitting on it, complaining, and obviously this social media debacle isn't going to make it any better.
Forward, because people, if they look at an anime and they see his name associated with a project, they're instantly going to say, oh, it's going to be...
No. The average retard that watches anime has no understanding of who to even blame. To think that they're going to remember this director's name and therefore all the animes that he's going to be making is blacklisted is ridiculous. The hardcore sweaty motherfuckers online will, but that is such an insignificant dot in the speck of an ocean known as the average anime consumer. No, this is fucking internet online drama. They're going to forget about this shit after the fucking season ends.
Awful. Oh, it's going to be...
Name me 5 anime directors.
Season 3 One Punch Man level. That's what you're going.
And then you're gonna have the hardcore sweaty fucking Sakuga tart saying, oh, I know these directors. I'm not talking about you. Because the average person don't even know this video is fucking they don't even know this situation's happening. This is just the most online unemployed fucking drama fest that we're farming for fun.
Going to get. And that is just so disheartening. It's sad, man. It really infuriates me because that's how the production committee and everybody on top gets away with this. Because there's these like shadowy known.
And if you actually care about this director and you empathize for his career, just like what Chibi's saying, you should be aware that if this guy had an actual option to say no when selected for this project, the precedent that sends, again, understand Japanese corporate culture. Understand that like, just because you can say no, it doesn't mean you can say no. People clock out at 5 p.m. because you're done work. Other people are going to stick around and work until fucking midnight. And if you leave, well, you're blacklisted. You're part of the out group now. And then your career actually gets tarnished. And due to this shitty ass culture, that's why they can't say no. And I know it sounds like I'm making a lot of excuses for them, but this is definitely an insight that happens in corporate cultures. Not just Japan, but in Japan, I think it's even heightened to the next degree.
Name figures at the top that do these production decisions with the different companies and animation studios, and most people aren't even aware that they exist. And they get away with it while you have directors or studios like JC Staff taking the full blunt blame of the entire situation. And
because it's an easy target. No one really has a face to blame for Bandai Namco, but they do know this director and he has a Twitter account.
Just like, dude... Oh, it's so horrendous, man. So, with that being said, let's get into what his final statement was.
Sure.
I have some rather unfortunate news. There are a few people among my followers who are pretending to be allies, but are actually engaging in rage baiting. So I decided to delete my account. Their actions, such as taking my statements out of context, trying to elicit comments that violate NDAs, or turning them into profit, are unacceptable and cannot be overlooked. I've always done my best for the fans with utmost certainty, but I've come to the conclusion that continuing in this environment is untenable for this project. It's always the genuine fans who end up suffering the most. I cannot forgive those who tarnish the staff's honor or exploit the struggles of the creators for profit through hate. Therefore, I will be deleting Shinpai Nagai's account entirely. I will not create any accounts in the future either. I cannot overlook overlook actions that degrade the work itself, so I ask for your understanding. Honestly, this is taking a toll on my mental health, and it only brings negatives to the work, the staff, and the original creators.
Yeah.
But such despicable behavior is unforgivable. To the fans who have been truly kind to me, I want to express my gratitude and apologies. It was truly enjoyable. Now, there's a lot of things I could take away from this post, but there is one statement here that really stood out to me upon
Rage baiting?
my first read, and it is this. Their actions, such as taking my
NDA.
statements out of context, trying to elicit comments that violate NDAs, or turning them into a profit. I have a feeling I know exactly who he's talking about, and I'm just going to rip the band-aid off right here, right now. There is a lot of Sakuga accounts and leakers, and for those that don't know what Sakuga accounts are, they're basically fans of animation. Nothing wrong.
Yeah, I heard that this part too, right? I heard that there are anime leaks that's happening that's kind of appalling. Like, I don't think this is, again, the fault of one individual. There's many different things happening. Another theory I've been hearing is there's like leakers and somehow they're involved in this.
All of that, but they are heavy into animation, knowing the intricacies of individual frames, who worked on an individual frame for an episode. They're basically the high-level nerds of the animation world. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that's what they are. However, there is a subsection of the
Senshi did this. He makes Sakuga analysis. Probably pretentious, and Senshi did this. I can't believe that.
Sakuga community that is, just going to be completely blunt, very toxic. And a group of these Sakuga accounts are individuals that actively communicate not just with animators or directors, but also with leakers. And in this case, when I see this situation about trying to elicit comments that violate NDAs, I'm assuming most likely in the director's private DMs, you had either Sakuga accounts or leakers trying to comment or ask about certain things that's going on with the production, and basically making the director try to make a statement
about Bandai Namco
on certain things that he just cannot talk about. And how do you...
I think this is clear as day. I think that I do hear this take that, right, that leakers are somehow trying to, but it doesn't need to be straight up leakers. There's a lot of people questioning and demanding, you know, like, why is this so fucking bad, right? And do you think that the director can literally say it's the production committee's fault? Like, there's a reason why they kind of skirt around the edges and never actually say what they're trying to say, because if they do, again, because they get blacklisted. So I think that all these violate NDA comments, it's not specifically from just Sakuga tards trying to get it. This is an interesting flavor, though, of trying to paint, you know, the Sakuga community for doing this shit. Maybe they are. Again, I think it is a multitude of different groups of people, you know, that's doing this, and finally the straw broke its back yesterday, or actually this morning.
You think there's certain information that gets out about anime? Like, how do you think that sometimes we know certain staff listing or who's working on something? How do you think we get certain early leaks or images of anime or manga or something? It's because you have people that are actively leaking.
Chibi got beef with the Sakuga community. He got cooked by them many times. I mean, the Sakuga community is always cooking anti-tubers that don't really understand production value and misrepresent it, right? I think that for sure they've been in drama before.
Things or talking with staff or whatever, like for instance the animation staff. So when you see this type of situation, I'm going to take an educated guess that there was probably some leakers or Sakuga accounts that were following the director of One Punch Man, trying to get him to explain what exactly is going on.
I think that this is not specifically them, though. You know what I mean? Because, like, anybody can ask those questions. Any person that is not heavily on the Sakuga board can ask about what's going on. Did the production committee, you know, do this? Can you shed some light on anything? So it feels like very unfair, just like the way that it's unfair to blame Nicholas Light for everything. Because again, I think there are many different moving parts that is all coming together, and finally the last straw broke the back, and now this is happening.
How this all happened, but obviously the director didn't want to break NDA, violate it, and get into any trouble whatsoever, which is why I think he made this statement. I feel like this is a very important one, because the reason why he also said turning them into a profit, for those that do not know, people that post leaks, like for instance on social media, the first person to post leaks, they get a lot of engagement, they get a lot of recognized like notoriety.
Notoriety is so funny. Jujutsu Kaisen leakers, bro. I don't know. There's something funny about like leakers, just like Like, don't they get sued? Isn't there like law enforcement like literally happening? Didn't like Twitter get subpoenas like due to the fucking leaks happening? It's just like, damn, you're all willing to just risk your fucking livelihood to get some like Twitter clout leaking fucking manga panels.
They become infamous. There's a reason why there's certain leaks in the gaming community or anime community, manga community, comic community, whatever community. There always is leaks, clearly. But the point is the reason why leakers leak things is because it's for clout.
I think that the evidence on Saturday that Nicholas Light will drop is going to be about this. I think so. How many of you think, I'm going to call that out right now, the things that we are unaware of, the receipts that Bandai Namco are the ones that is, you know, manipulating us, and Nicholas Light is the sacrificial lamb? I believe that he is going to direct the receipts to the Sakuga community, maybe Shinji too. Shinji is a paid operative. Just like me, we're both paid out by Bandai Namco, and we're all in this conspiracy together.
It's for recognition. It's for money. That's the reason why they leak things. That's the reason why they want to be...
I mean, it's kind of unreasonable to say that a Bandai Namco would collude with a leaker. Well, why not? You've seen like corrupt governments in fictional stories pay off thugs in the streets to do their act, right? Yeah, no, fuck it. Let's keep going with this theory. I like this.
You know, the person to post it before anything comes out, because obviously if they're the first individual to talk about it and it actually is confirmed true, there is a systematic domino effect to where people continue to engage with that account, and then obviously that account gets more and more famous, and they potentially can start making a profit off of it. And so in this case, I feel like that is what this comment is about. It's talking about individuals trying to contact not just the staff, but the director about the anime, and trying to get comments about it that, like I said, would break his NDA.
Sure.
So yeah, this one really stood out to me. Now, with that being said, there's another one that stood out to me, which is his mental health.
Yeah.
Now, I am aware, I have been told recently that apparently the director was commenting about their health, that the production of the anime was taking a toll on their health, and this honestly doesn't surprise me at all. And
I mean, that's just the standard, right? If your mental health is not taking a toll, are you actually working in the animation industry? Sounds fucked up, but that is literally how it works over there.
The reason why is because this is a story as old as time, basically, since anime's inception. You have continuous directors, animators, staff, assistants, whatever, that always have some form of health issue because they're overworked and don't have enough time to be able to get things done properly. This is a common theme, a common trend in the anime industry. It's a very sad thing. It's something that even happens in the manga industry, which I've made recent videos talking about Oda's health, for example. You know, it is a common trend. And in this case, I'm not really shocked that the whole situation is taking a hit on his mental health, especially with, you know, comments apparently of him talking about how the production, he was stressing out to get everything done on time. So seeing this type of statement, it makes sense. I mean, imagine being absolutely hit by millions upon millions of people just being upset with your work of what you've done on season 3. Obviously, this would destroy anyone's mental health. It would. And clearly, this individual, the director, is not used to probably talking with an overwhelming amount of people. And as I even said in my video yesterday, he was put in a very bad spot. Like, the fact that he is having to play PR and play director, and
he had to play PR months before, you know, this season of anime, by the way. Like, he had pre-excuses lined up because he knew this shit would happen, and it still popped off in a bad way.
Help with the animation, all these other little things that we're unaware of within the anime is so sad, man. Like, he's just doing so much for one guy, and so it makes sense why anyone would have a mental health crisis at this point. It's not right. And like I said, this makes me very angry with the production committee for even putting him in this spot. They did this to him. They did this to him and made it now to where he is basically forever stained. His legacy is tarnished because of what they did to him. It would make me...
I feel like, again, people are just going to forget about this. Can you really name any other, like, for example, the Tibet director? Anybody even know that guy? Like, other than super sweaty people that's going to look into every fucking anime and staff to see what their resume is, again, the average person will never even be aware. So I feel like his career isn't going to be tarnished from this. Some super sweaty people inside, you know, this niche will be aware, but that doesn't represent anywhere to the significant consumer base. And if anything, again, the only thing that would tarnish his career is the fact that if he were to deny or reject, if he truly had an option to not take on this project, again, just because you can say no doesn't mean you can say no in Japanese corporate culture.
So mad if I was him, honestly. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not him, but if I was him, I would be upset about the entire situation. But with that being said, though, it's just... I guess we need to talk about criticism, because I feel like this is a very big...
Just say Nicholas Light's name, bro. What is the likelihood that Chibi will never say his name, not once?
...part to really discuss. Obviously, harassing the staff and animators, everything that's going on here is unacceptable.
Yes.
I completely have said already multiple times, I've said it many times with many other anime as well and stuff.
Absolutely. Harassing the staff is unacceptable. And I still think that Nicholas Light, his intentions were not to harass the anime staff. The only questionable thing, again, is the video that he uploaded yesterday, where he labeled himself as a victim of a tweet from a guy who didn't even know who he was, apparently. And that, I think, is the point where a lot of people are upset at him and saying JC Staff stuff, you know, and the fact that he's engaging with comments that seems to be anti-JC Staff director, right? That is the receipts that is very confusing, and a lot of people are taking it to the next level with.
Don't harass the staff. You can critique it, you can dislike the work. Don't harass the staff. It's a very simple, common sense thing, but obviously in this day and age, people are unhinged, they don't have common sense. I feel like people have negative IQ, just gonna be completely blunt. And the thing here is that even though I don't think you should ever harass the staff, you can criticize their work.
Yeah, you can.
You can critique One Punch Man. And I feel...
And how do you critique One Punch Man, right? Objectively, you acknowledge the failure from the corporate committee, the production committee, of how the timeline was fucked, how everyone got thrown under the bus. And that's it. It's that simple. And then we move on. But the more you keep complaining and crying about the same thing over and over again, it's gonna make people be resentful toward your cause again, no matter how right you are.
Like this entire situation with the director is going to once again lead to another systematic domino effect, which I even hinted at yesterday, where it's going to deflect any form of criticism that you could have about the product, that you could have about Season 3.
And then exactly, right? Again, there's always a spectrum of people that are going to be hating no matter what, and people that's going to be glazing no matter what. That's why it's fucking stupid to ever say that you are on this team or you're on that team. You should be a reasonable person that can see through the spectrum's bullshit and see that there is a reasonable stance. That's what I've been doing. That's what I've been saying. I shit on the show when it needs to be, and I enjoy it when it needs to be. It's that simple, and we move on.
And that is completely a full stop. No. Yes, I feel bad for the director. This should not have happened to him. This should not be a thing. He should not have had to deactivate or whatever. But this doesn't change the fact that, yes, One Punch Man Season 3 is not good. It's not.
True.
Not blaming the director, not blaming the animators,
that's
not blaming
facts.
the production committee. It is a bad product. Simple as that. If a chef...
I think the rating I give for One Punch Man so far, of the 2 episodes that's come out, it's like a 6 point something. There are moments of potential that I see, like at the end of season, like episode 2. That's about it. If that is consistent all the way through, then I'd be like, holy fuck, let's keep going. But I think 6 point something out of 10 is a very fair score. Maybe even like a high 5, you know? A 5.5 to like a 6.5, somewhere in that range, I think is adequate for One Punch Man Season 3 so far. Story is absolutely carrying. I think that obviously it's a subjective thing of people will judge it just by animation, but there's so many more than just animation of an anime. Production value is more than just moving at, frames. It's about the art style, the soundtrack, the voice acting, the direction of the story, and so on, right? That completes this thing that we call production value. But most people focus on just the animation, and through that regard, they're probably going to be rating like 5 point something or 6 point something.
That is in a 5-star.
But then what I put it in peak, because I keep telling you over and over again, just because the objective rating of an animation is poor doesn't mean that I can't think it's peak. I'm enjoying it a lot. I love the story. It's so fun to me to meme and clown on it when it's funny, like Garo sliding down, or when he starts popping off, and because of no expectations, suddenly it's hype because they're showing us, lights of potential. It's so fun. I love this story. It should be better, but I can, again, acknowledge that it's trash and still acknowledge that it's fun to me. It's a very subjective thing. It's very simple.
A restaurant gives you a plate of shit. You're not going to sit there and be like, this is good shit, and pay them $100. You're not going to do that. You're going to be upset.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're a consumer.
And you need to make your stance when you're a consumer. If you just eat that shit up and you say nothing, they're gonna keep giving you shit. That's why there is a productive way in criticizing and complaining and directing the hate towards the people, like the production committee, that should be done to actually enact change. Is that gonna do anything? I feel like, again, the only thing that matters is domestic response. If there is no domestic outrage and people, you know, basically just giving up on One Punch Man and quitting, you know, not buying merch and blah, 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 then when it hurts the bottom line, that's when real change happens. Over in the international market, all we can do is just fucking farm drama videos.
You're someone that is there to pay for a product or watch a product or whatever. You are someone that, you know, actually is assuming it's supposed to be good. And if it's not good, you're going to be upset about it. So in this case, no. You could still critique One Punch Man Season 3, just do not harass the staff. There you go.
Like anything, right? It needs to be done in moderation. You can critique it all you want. But there's also when you go so toxic negative with it, all you do is complain and cry about the same thing, making rounds and rounds and trying to discredit the credits, you know, the director's name, saying he's a hentai director, right? There are absolutely ways in which criticisms can be done, but there's also ways, again, where if you take it too far, don't be surprised when people find it annoying.
It's that simple, really is. But obviously, it's hard for people to understand that one. I'll leave it at that, though. I just wanted to talk about this because this entire situation made me very upset to wake up to, and I cannot believe how we got here. Like, man, One Punch Man Season 3 really is turning out exactly like I said it would this past summer. I said it was going to be the biggest disaster of 2025.
I think that's still debate. Nah, debate is still a worse product, but the brand name isn't as big as One Punch Man. Therefore, Season 3 One Punch Man probably should be #1 for that. You know what I mean? Debate, big on Tapas, a lot of big people, not many people reading it, but I don't think it's ever gone that mainstream like One Punch Man's brand.
Of anime, and here we are. It really is looking like that. But okay, be safe, stay healthy.
And that's pretty much it. And of course, he's not going to mention Nicholas Light. Does he need to? I don't think so. Obviously, Chibi and Nick is very chummy over on Twitter. And I thought, if anything, he would mention the uncanny timeline of when Nick's video went up, victiming himself from the director's tweet, which I think was a misinterpretation, and talk about how that also obviously added into this fire. Again, it's not just one person. There's multiple different things happening all over, and I do believe that, like, the timeline of this shit happening, the haters of Nick actually reaching out to the director, whispering things into his ear, and then him quitting Twitter today, it's just such an insane coincidence that, like, did Hashan actually shock his dog? I don't know. Again, when it comes to friends and people that you're on good terms with, people don't want to talk about that, right? Because again, does this mean that Chibi's words are compromised? I think that he addressed what he needed to do and left out the unnecessary drama. The drama part, right, for sure, I think adds on to the bigger picture, but he focused specifically on the Sakuga. And this is the very interesting thing. The Sakuga leaked. So you're telling me that, like, here's the thing. I don't think it's due to one single person, one group of people. I think it's a multitude. And I do believe that there are Sakuga board people that Chibi has also been in drama with in the past that probably are, you know, trying to break the NDA stuff or asking stuff that could break the NDA. But to label it to just this one tribe of people, I think is ridiculous. There's way more. There's way more than just this. And I'm excited to see on Saturday what the receipts and the information that we don't know about. If it's simply the Sakuga people that, you know, Nick is going to deflect onto, then I don't think that's good enough. I need receipts. I need receipts that Bandai Namco has paid off Senshi. I need receipts that Bandai Namco is paying off Senshi because he is a Sakuga member and that this is a big cover-up campaign. Please check out Chibi's channel. Link to the video right over here. Go check out his content. See you next time.